Well, morning, fellow zombies. Are we alive yet? Are we awake yet? 'Cause I sure as hell ain't. No, another long night again. 7:13 in the morning, West Coast time. It is May 30th, 2025. Weaver John C. Roseman, California. You're a zombie out here. Yeah, enough of that shit. All right, guys. Full pause. I'm coming across, and it's my own thing, and I had to pull a lot of videos back. Not the ones I've already got posted, but the ones I hadn't gotten posted. Reactions to things I've seen and reacting one way, and I had to reevaluate. And down in the background, she must be obeyed again. Alrighty, here we go again. Pause it. She's coming. She's coming. Yeah, guess who's back on, guys? Yeah, she's doing okay. She's just fussing. So, for a long while, I've been watching small clips happening on YouTube. TikToks, Instagrams, when they're filtering through. And there's trend out there, major trend that I wasn't quite sure how to handle. We're dealing with students who can't concentrate in class, who can't learn anything, and yet they get passed over through K through 12 to the point where they're getting dumped into the college systems, and the professors are having issues over the students to a point where even they're griping and grumbling about dumping themselves out. Let alone the K through 12 teachers who are having major issues over students who not just the unwillingness to read, but the inability to make them learn. Apparently, there's a hell of a lot of behavioral issues that the students are having. But to me, it's nothing new. Putting it down, Mama. I'm putting it down. You want to fuss? Go ahead. Hold on. Come on. She does mine. I remember back in the 80s that there had been reports of different schools having issues with their students. There was one that turned into a docudrama of a movie concerning about one particular radical teacher back in the 60s who got picked up and put back into his former place of employment as a principal. You've heard of the movie Stand By Me, Morgan Freeman, Robert Guillaume is in it. This movie was back in the 90s, actually. They were talking about a principal who did some actions that was questionable to the city council, to the parents, in order to protect and educate the youth. He was showing them a hell of a lot of kindness while riding on his faculty a great deal. So I was kept watching the movie over and over again. He seemed like he was a monster, but he actually cared about the students, and so did the faculty. But they just had a problem communicating with each other. And the premise of the movie was basically the students had to pass the um, basic tests concerning about reading, writing, math, understanding a few things here and there, and they had to get the school ready. Otherwise, they had the state, I think it was either New Jersey or New York, one of those two, coming on down to take control of the school, and they didn't want that to happen. So Joe was brought in to see what he can do to help them one way or another. And yeah, there was a hell of a lot of conflict in the thing. A lot of emotional conflict between the parents, the instructors, principal, and everybody else. But in the end, yeah, the school managed to pass the basic exams, and at the end, Joe was still going to be the principal of the school, and a lot of students were grateful for it. But it kind of reminded me of the times right now as it is. Right now, we have the teachers so burned out that they can't handle their job, either by the state or by local or by the students themselves, putting so much pressure on the teachers. They want to succeed. They want to educate the students. They want to make sure that they understand what's going on. But if they're not getting any kind of cooperation from any or all sides, they walk. When you have teachers being threatened by students, the level of respect gone. There's supposed to be that kind of a barrier between instructor and principal that you just didn't climb over, break through, or anything. It was there to protect the instructor as well as the students. There are certain rules and regulations you didn't do when I was growing up. A few students tried, but they also got hauled out. They got expelled. Temporary suspension is one thing, but when you get expelled from a school, from a district, man, that's tough. And I heard a few students doing that back in the 80s. Now, it's not even happening as much, is it? No, because now you have within the past, 30, almost 40, between that time period, from the 90s all the way through now, you have shootings happening. Either a disgruntled employee or a disgruntled student at that point, I can understand why the teachers would want to leave, because they lost control of the whole situation. I don't blame them. But it gets worse than that for me, especially when I'm a college student, 10 years, and I'm only 59 years old. I know shortly I'll be graduating, but not this year. Maybe next year, hopefully. I'll be getting that coveted piece of paper and what it meant to get that piece of paper. It's not just a paper with the writing on it. It's the satisfaction that I did something and I made a promise and I tried to fulfill it. But I'm disillusioned. When I was starting off with the college, and I said this before in many of my videos, so I'll say it again. Big brother David and me, right after Mama's passing, we went back to college, and David couldn't do it because of health reasons. His heart couldn't take it. There was a lot of stress and pressure he put upon himself. So he couldn't even get 1 year completed. I could. And I did. And my brother kept encouraging me to keep going. And I'd taken advice of just taking 2 classes at a time. That way I was able to focus and not stress as much. I've seen students do about 3 or 4 or 5 classes at a time. Hell, I did that myself when I was a young kid. And yeah, that's a lot of pressure on you. You had to have the physical exercise. Okay, fine. But then again, you had to study in between of what your material was. There have been days when I went to community college, not within the past 10 years, but prior to that, between 85 through 87, roughly, that I had to take prerequisite courses. And I had to take the lowest levels because my educational level wasn't up there. So in order to get to English 101, I had to take English 28. Then there was another English class, and then I got into English 101. I should have had these skills, but I didn't. I should have had them back in high school. I didn't. I don't know why it never transferred over. I don't know why I scored that low, but I did. Maybe disillusioned that I had to use a year of catch-up and then take summer classes just to get myself going. And by the time I completed a summer course, It was not enough for the college. The academic separation letter came out, and my mother had a conniption fit. You cannot live under this roof as a freebie. You either work your ass off at a full-time job or you're out of here, period. She was pissed. She was absolutely livid. Dave tried, but he didn't have time. He couldn't make the time. He couldn't even do it. It's not that his education level wasn't there. There were things happening that he was just not able to get into college. Maybe take a course for interest, but everything else, forget it. College was a hell of a lot different for me back then as a kid than it is now. Because at least I'd seen the kids struggling and staying with the program back then. Now they're dropping out like flies. The first or second year when I got back in the college, and I'm going over to Antelope Valley College in Lancaster, California, I'm talking to a few students. Some of them actually were there just for the money. The loans and grants. They thought it was free money. I remind these kids, no, you had to get your grades up. And when you get your grades, you get to keep the money, and you get to get more money. Didn't bother. They dropped out. Me, I stayed at it. Grades were just, at least, I'm not complaining about it as much. But I'm struggling. I got about maybe a C average, maybe a C plus if I'm lucky enough. Trust me, I look at it as a win. My mother probably wanted A's or B's, but if I get the high C's and maybe low B's, I'm not going to complain. So if I happen to graduate out of the college as maybe a low B in general, then I've got no issues with it. I still have to compare the points and what it means by a letter grade, and then I have to work harder on that one. If I have to redo a few classes, I'll redo a few classes. But I want to get that grade average up. Now here's the thing. I had seen also people coming through and they didn't know how to do the reports. Well, hell, when I got into the system as an adult, about a decade ago, I didn't know what it meant to be having an APL or an MLA. Two different styles of writing because of the classes I'm taking. It mattered a great deal. You have online courses out there, or actually online assistants that can help me out to re-educate me a little bit on what style to use. So I'm on the move with that one. So maybe, just maybe, I'll be lucky enough to get through it. There she goes again. Come on. Get over here. She wants me in the bedroom again, and she's going to howl. She's doing that to me this morning. She's not having a good day, apparently. Now, I had seen some of the students talking about things online, and they're complaining about the teachers, or they're complaining about one thing or another. I heard some of the students, Gen Alphas and Gen Zebras, or what the hell they call them, they can't get a fair shake. They get out of a four-year university with a piece of paper, and it doesn't help them very much. I ought to tell them something about that one. Sometimes it don't matter. Yeah, it does matter if you have the piece of paper because you tell them that you've studied, that you're good on that one. But if there's an opening, you take it into a job. Even if it's a low-paying wage, you still get to climb into the company. Now, there's a fallacy going on with some of the college students I keep running into throughout my lifetime. Once you get the pink skin, you can do anything. They'll take you and you'll rise to the top. Not really. You kidding me? Reality sets in is when you set into a company and you want to get that high-paying job, they got to put you on the low end. They want to see if you can do the job, even if it's a menial job. They want to see your grit. They want to see your nerve. They want to see if you can actually do it. But they also want to see how much you really want to stay in that company to get that coveted position. Because somebody else might have more experience or had a political savvy way of kissing someone's ass of getting that job. And the students don't figure this shit out. They hadn't been in that situation yet. They'll learn it the hard way. They'll learn it the hard way. Like I had to. If I was really going to be a company man, I had to work my way from the bottom. And yes, with the lowest wage possible. It's called humiliation and it's called humbleness. Deal with it. But as for the students who are still struggling right now in the college systems, I salute them because they want it bad enough. They want it bad enough. Today, around, I don't know, about 5:30, they're going to have the ceremonies for the graduation. I'm not part of it, but hopefully one of these fair days I'm going to be. They'll scare the crap out of me, though. Because then I got to figure out what the hell I do after that. But I had to work my ass off. I really had to work my ass off. Kicking my ass. And thinking I might not be able to get back into college again. Till the opportunity presented itself. I didn't have it when I was taking care of my mother. I didn't have it when I was working full time. I didn't have it. Not because I could then get killed in a job. Tire falling on my damn face and screwing up my back and neck and everything else. Here I am. Going through the academics for a decade. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. And at times I think it's fun. I pick and choose which particular topics I want to take and what I'm learning about. And sometimes I keep the reference materials here because there might be something interesting out of it that I just may want to share or may want to read. And that's the thing concerning about education. Finding enjoyment out of it. I'm all for it. I'm finding that right now as it is. But as a kid, it's still school. That was the attitude. So I don't know what's happening with these students today. I don't know why they're freaking out and having conniption fits over their teachers. And I don't know why, how come they can't get their head out of their ass, especially when they get through the testing. How come they're not doing so well? They'll put you through the bargain basement, the prerequisite classes, the prerequisite classes, just to qualify for the prerequisite, and they'll see where the hell you are. And it'll be my advice to those students: keep checking with the counselors, keep checking with the student learning centers, because you got your peers over there going to be help work with you regarding what you need. Now, for me as an old fart, I look at it as an insult. But I have to keep an open mind on this one. Because if I don't, I'm going to get buried alive like the worm I am. And speaking of which, I got to deal with she who must be obeyed. You saw her. Yeah. Now I got to deal with her and her attitude. A dog with an attitude at this point over here, still wanting me. And by the way, if you happen to see anything crawling around in the screen, either in the background or foreground, it's not you guys. It's bug war. I'm still dealing with cockroaches to this day, so I wish the hell I wasn't. Anyway, we'll talk later, guys. Until then, and that being said.